Welcome, Hoofers. It is another episode of the Hoof Podcast Live. I am your host, Sterling, and I am joined by my guy, Anthony Romeo NY. What is up?
Yo, what a week for the Buffalo Bills, man. We've got a lot to talk about. We beat the Dolphins, obviously. We crushed them. Squished the fish. Man, this was like, have some pity on the fish at this point. But wow, what a game. Lots to talk about. I am so excited, pumped. Oh, ready to go, man. How are you feeling?
No, man, we're good. I'm good. You know, it's another week 3. Man, the season's going to go by so freaking fast. But I want to let everybody know that you are watching the Hoof Podcast on the Cover One Network. This is where we get it in. You know, all of our guys here at Cover One, we grind. I mean, so any analysis that you need, okay, even if you're here just for a laugh, you know, to make your week better, we got you covered here at Cover One. All of our guys are top-notch guys, from Greg Thompson to Aaron Quinn, you know, to my guy Pro Ant. I mean, Eric Turner with the film breakdowns. I mean, we got you covered every sense of the way. So make sure you like, follow, subscribe to our YouTube channel, to our Slack. You know, if you want to be a member there, a premium member there, you know how to do that. We got articles coming at you. I mean, you know how we do. So I had to make sure I throw that out there, that you are watching the Hoof Live on the Cover One Network. And you know, why don't we go ahead and do some shout outs here? You know, we got G Seals in the house. Let's go. I know Greg is in here. He says, let's effing go, baby.
Heyo.
Let's go. Let's get it in. Do you believe? Yes, sir. And, you know, look, hey, if you haven't liked, followed, and subscribed to our YouTube channel, to the Hoof Live, make sure you do so. You know, we definitely going to keep it here. Lone Wolf says, no Bill suit.
Not till Sunday, baby. If we're going to the game, I'll be suiting up. So it'll be on. Don't worry. It's still there. It's still active. You'll still see it all the time. Just not on the Hoof on Tuesday nights for the live show.
Yes, we do have a jam-packed show for you tonight. And as we get started here, we're going to definitely get into some stuff. Make sure that you guys check out Underdog Fantasy. Is the best place to play fantasy sports, including best ball, daily drafts, pick 'em, you name it. They got it. You can start drafting in minutes for a shot to win cash prizes. And if you use the Cover One code, you get $10 added to you. So just by becoming a member of Underdog Fantasy, they are giving you $10 for mentioning the sweet name of Cover One. I'm just saying, man, you're not going to beat that. So
yeah, you could do two $5 for that. You can do a $10 one. I did this week. I did a 6-person draft where you know, each of us drafts a roster, and I won. Yeah, so I'm up already. I was number one. Derrick Henry, you know, we're going to talk a little bit about him, I think, today, because, man, what a day he had. And basically, if you drafted him, you won. So I was lucky enough to be that guy in one of mine this week. And their player prop parlays are awesome. Every week you can pick different combinations from different games, whether you think a player is going to score above or below their average, or they're going to get so many touchdowns or so many yards. That's been really, really fun to do. And it's a multiplier. So the more you select, up to 5, you can get, you know, 20 times your money. So excellent opportunities there. I'm loving it already. And hey, we're up. So that's what counts.
So how did you feel? You know, before we get it, first of all, let's talk about your clothing tonight, buddy. Let's talk about that, because you got on I don't, those colors, they clash to me, my guy. Like, that is
you're not seeing it
very
right, man.
wine red polo looking shirt, and then you got the blazer.
Polo. I don't wear a polo. Come on.
That's a polo. That's a button up. Okay.
No,
that's
polos.
A button up.
Yeah, come on.
And then you got on the it looks pink to me, my guy.
No, it's just showing up that way. I promise you it's red. I can't get any closer to the camera. The lighting is nice. Let's there you go.
I don't know, man. You might want to tell Kathy to start dressing you again, man.
Hell no, you know, man. I'm the fashion person here.
Dude. I
dress her.
Know.
You can ask her. She's not watching tonight, I think, but I dress her. I'm the fashion one here.
Is that you know, we're gonna have to verify that from your wife, because I'm not sure.
No, it's absolutely.
If that's verified here.
She'll tell you 100%. I pick out all her best outfits.
Okay,
I do it for my friends too, man. I love fashion. I love being fashion forward.
He said I love fashion. Also, Our other sponsor, IDP Army. Mostly IDP, all fantasy football. Make sure you guys also subscribe to the IDP Army channel on YouTube for weekly start, sit, live stream question and answers before every kickoff Sunday at 11 a.m. And that's funny that that's being mentioned because I already got somebody in here talking crap. Don in here says, I think my hot takes as to who would win last week may have beaten Sterling's picks. I don't know, shoot. Don. Did it really? I don't know. Okay.
Ooh, we're going to talk about the picks later because
we're going to get into the picks. We're going to get into the picks
because Hoof is hot right now.
The Hoof on cover one. We kind of cleaned up last week as a group.
Yeah, we did.
Like the Migos, you know what I'm saying?
Right. We didn't all pick the same teams, but we all did very, very well.
Yeah, it was dope. It was dope. All right, so let's get into this. So if you guys have for those of you who are new watching the show here on the Hoof Live, we kind of do things a little bit different. We have segmented parts to our show. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to go around the league, and this is called What's Poppin'. This is the part of the show where we go around the league and we talk about the latest and the greatest of what's happened in the NFL. You know, just kind of give it a broader look, a broader perspective than just diving into Bill stuff 24/7. So these topics are presented by myself. My guys don't get to see that. Anthony did not get to see that before tonight's show. And so the first thing we want to talk about tonight is Lamar Jackson and the Ravens beat the Chiefs in primetime. I don't know if you guys out there watched it, but it was a great game. Lamar Jackson had it was 18 for 26, 239 yards, a touchdown and 2 picks they looked terrible when he threw them. But yeah, 16 carries for 107 yards and 2 touchdowns. There was a late fumble by Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and they capitalized on it. So, Anthony, did you watch the game? What did you think about it?
I did not watch the entire game, but I definitely watched pieces of it. The start of the game, I saw a little bit of that, and that was when the Ravens looked terrible, right? It was like, oh, man, they're going to get crushed, right? Oh, he threw an interception. They can't do anything right. Oh, this is ugly already. But the Chiefs let him come right back at him and get all that energy. And as you said, I watched the end of the game with that late fumble by Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and ooh, that was bad. I just thought, like, Chiefs, oh my God, you can't even keep the ball to win the game at this point. You had to run it. Obviously, that's the smart thing to do when you have a lead and you're running out the clock. You got to trust your running backs, but you let them punch the ball out. And it's not like this was a defensive game, okay? I bet the over this week, thank God, because that was, to me, an easy bet. I think it was like 55 points, and I still said over for this game they ended up going way over that, right? Anyway, it was clear to me that the Chiefs are beatable. That's the biggest conclusion here for all of the NFL. Anybody, right? Look, the Ravens came out, and they did not look great to start. It's not like they came out so hot that the Chiefs had to play catch up and got off their game. No, the Chiefs were the Chiefs for this pretty much the entire game. It was the Ravens who went from, oh my God, you look like crap, to, oh my God, we're turning it on. And that was primarily at the hands of Lamar Jackson being Lamar Jackson, meaning he is number one, a runner, and that is where he is his biggest threat. And, oh yeah, sometimes he throws the ball to open receivers. I don't care what Ravens fans or anybody thinks, that is the best thing for Baltimore. He is number one, a playmaker, a runner, and that's what he does best. That's what he did best in this game. Certainly didn't do that great throwing the ball, not his percentage, not his interceptions, all that. But, man, did he dominate and be the playmaker that they needed when they needed it. That's what this offense is built around. And their defense didn't look great. They gave up a lot of points. But then again, when it came down to making the play to win the game, boom, they made it. Turnover, they capitalized, they score and win the game.
No, and and it was a great game. I think it was the funnest game. In the first 2 weeks, that was by far the best game that I've seen. Yeah. It was really cool. It's funny because Patrick Mahomes, anytime he makes a pass, it's put on YouTube or it's talked about on Twitter as the next coming thing, and the interception he threw was just was a slice of pie. I mean, it was beautiful interception that he threw. He was trying to make a play, and he just kind of, threw it out there. And so all the Josh Allen haters out there, who talk about, Josh Allen in the playoffs or Josh Allen makes stupid plays. Well, Patrick Mahomes made a dumbass play. I mean, can we put that out there? As many great plays as he makes, people kind of think Patrick is this infallible quarterback, and he's not. He's a great quarterback. He's the best quarterback in the league. But he even has his flaws too. He even misses passes as well. So it was very cool to see. Patrick Mahomes throwing an interception. But my take on the game, Lamar Jackson, he balls out in primetime games, man. He has a very good record in primetime games, and it was very cool to see him knock off the king, Patrick Mahomes. Anytime the Chiefs lose, it's icing on the cake. And Lamar Jackson to be able to do that, his price for his next contract is only going to go up, right? And, for as much as people say, he's not an elite passer, which he's not, but, what the combination of what he could do through the air and with his legs make him one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in league history. Yeah. So, that's something that we cannot he has his flaws too. That's something that we cannot overlook, but it was a great game. Jace Owe, Edifefe, I don't even know how he wants to even say his name, but he had a sack as a rookie from Penn State, a guy that we all kind of looked at, was like, the Bills should take a look at him. He played a really good game. So I like what I've seen from the Ravens. It was a very good game. I'm looking forward to see more, but anytime the Chiefs lose, I am happy.
It's good for the Bills, man. It is. The Chiefs are beatable. We're all competing for that number 1 playoff position. Remember, there's only one bye now. So if you get the 1 seed, you get a bye in the first round. That's always an advantage, no matter what. You get a whole week to rest your guys and be ready for that next opponent the coming week. That would be superb. And this definitely opens the door a little bit. We played the Chiefs in a couple of weeks. We have to be ready for that game.
We do.
If you beat them, now you definitely have the hold on the number 1 seed. So it's all looking up for the Bills, and a hell of a game for Lamar Jackson. And to counter that, one of the things I was going to say is that the Buffalo Bills, specifically Sean McDermott, has game plan for Lamar Jackson extremely well. He never plays well against the Bills. I mean, he's a playmaker. He gets his in, but look at the playoff game last year. Look at 2 years ago when we played them. It's intense when the Bills play Lamar Jackson.
It totally is. And I didn't hear anything you just said, because this comment on the bottom here is just golden. It says, I asked my girl, you look like a cranberry. Wow. That is golden. My guy looks like a cranberry. Dang. You should do like what's that dude on TikTok? The dude that does what's they call him? Mad Dog. He plays God, what's that band? With Stevie Nicks. Shit. What is the name of that band? I can't think of him right now. But the dude, he was on he's on a skateboard, and he's drinking cranberry juice. What is the Fleetwood Mac? Fleetwood Mac is the name of the band. Okay, you don't know who this guy is?
I know who Fleetwood Mac is. Yes.
Okay. Well, there's a guy that has made a complete living on TikTok because he drinks the cranberry juice and he rides around on a skateboard, bro. He's dope. He's dope. I'm just telling you. And they said you look like a cranberry. Got me thinking of that. I don't know how we get here, but sometimes we get here.
Okay.
Anyway, next we got the Titans. The Titans bounced back in a 33-30 overtime win against Seattle. Derrick Henry, man, 41 carries, 237 yards from scrimmage, and 3 touchdowns. So he had 2 on the ground and 1 on a passing play. Man, that's a lot of usage for a guy like that. I mean, he's a big guy at 41 carries, man. Jeez, like, your whole offense is running through Derrick Henry. Now, you paid him handsomely. I get it. But, you think longevity-wise and in the playoffs, is he able to hold up? Are they going to wear him out?
That's the most amazing thing about Derrick Henry, right? That's the understated thing about Derrick Henry. Usually his season might start out a little strong, but then he kind of gets average. Then he turns it on at the end of the year. Usually he gets better as the year goes on, which is insane because that makes no sense for a running back, especially who's getting 40 carries early on in the season. So usually he can work through it. He's, again, a unique kind of running back. There is only one Derrick Henry who dominates the games and gets that many carries and somehow usually gets better or maintains his dominance through the end of the season. And that's amazing for him. And I hope he does stay healthy and has a full season. But, I agree that you can't just keep giving him 40 carries a game. That's insane. I mean, at least bring in a second running back of some kind to touch the ball if you're going to do it that much, because I do think Tennessee's bread and butter is running the ball. There's no question there. Tennessee was Tennessee in this game. They got back to their basics, we're best at running the ball. Let's do that. Even though we have Julio Jones and these receivers and, Tannehill is capable. We're bread and butter is Derrick Henry, and he's the best player we got. And same thing with Seattle. Seattle was Seattle in this game. Their offense is capable, but their defense is terrible. And the defense at Tennessee, also vulnerable. You're giving up that many points to Seattle. My God, was this game just ugly in a lot of ways. And again, benefits the Buffalo Bills. Tennessee is a team we're also playing in a few weeks that is competing in this AFC. And if they look this bad against a team like Seattle and it takes them an overtime win when you give up almost 40 points, that's insane. You're not going to hold up against a defense like the Buffalo Bills and an offense like the Buffalo Bills. So who knows what's going to happen in that game, and there's still plenty of time for them to clean it up. Great game for Derrick Henry, but you can't just 41 carries. That's insane. A lot. You're gonna kill the guy if you keep doing that.
That's a lot.
But they do have the versatility to be able to mix it up with opponents and maybe have rely on Tannehill for a certain game when the opponent is weaker against the pass. But they should still, their bread and butter is Derrick Henry. Always. I don't care who the opponent is. You're running the ball.
Absolutely. Derrick Henry, I mean, he's one of the best backs in the league for a reason. And like you said, like you mentioned, it was a great point that he only improves, he only gets better
crazy.
Throughout the season, and he dominates toward the end of the season. So but I mean, running back shelf life, I mean, he's no exception, and I think they need to start being a little bit more careful about how much they're going to use their star back, because your body starts to break down. I mean, he takes big hits. He doesn't shy away from contact. I just don't want to see a good player like him not be available during the playoffs. So it's something to monitor for fantasy owners as well. I mean, obviously he got you. He probably got you a W this week.
Won me some money on Underdog. I was also facing him in some fantasy matchups, which wasn't fun because I lost both those matchups, even though my teams did pretty well. I couldn't hold up against a 40, 50 point score from one guy.
All right, so as we continue to move on, okay, there is one thing that we definitely need to do, okay? Now, I know some of you guys out there you probably love these guys. Their name is Handsome Jack. I'm gonna play their promo video, okay? And this is just a little awareness about Handsome Jack. They are also sponsored. As a musician, I've always wanted to wear like clothes like that from the 70s, but I'm a big dude. Like I can't be wearing the big old collar like my guy, and I don't have hair. I just can't pull off that 70s show look, Anthony. Like, I mean, my guy, he looks good. He looks good.
And the beard too, right? You got
I got the beard. I got the beard. Beard game's strong, but everything else my guy got going there is it's pretty dope. But ladies and gentlemen, that is Handsome Jack. These guys, that's their new single called Roll It. This is Buffalo's #1 rock and roll band. The song is available on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Play, wherever you stream music, and is the second single from the upcoming album, Get Humble, which releases October 29th. Watch the video for the Roll It, directed by Nate Chateau, at the link in the description. If you go to our YouTube channel, you will see the YouTube link in our description. And again, that is the band Handsome Jack. So we are pleased and thank you for Handsome Jack for being a sponsor of our show. And look, guys, you're just gonna have to get over it. The Hoof Live and the Cover One content, we're growing, and so as that grows, we have things that help make our show possible, and those are one of the things that help make our show possible.
Yeah, and we like promoting local stuff, right? Local bands, local companies. Yeah, hey, come at us. We're happy to promote you. Love to do that. And these guys, they got the swag and they got the music, so
absolutely
it's an excellent combination.
Randy Hartman says, "Oh God, again, Randy, Randy is my son, just so y'all know. That's my guy. Randy is my son." And Lone Wolf says, "I prefer Creed." Okay, look. Creed was the business back in the day.
I used to love them back in the day.
I used to freaking love Creed.
The weather.
Well, I once heard the news today. Yo, I went to school like 30 miles away from where Creed came up. They kind of met at Lee University. I went to Tennessee Temple, and everybody says Scott Stapp was just a huge dick. Yeah, Scott Stapp. But Creed was the jam, though. I'm just saying Creed was dope. Anyway, we're gonna keep it moving. All right. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into our Bills segment of the night. This is called the Inside Slant. And this is where we talk about all things Bills related. We are going to recap the game from Sunday, this 35-0 drubbing of the Miami Dolphins. 35-0.
How many? They didn't get any?
None.
Zero?
None.
None?
To the point where Jordan Poyer's on the sideline, you got the taunting rules. All right, he's like, you know what? I'm not going to stand on the field. I'm just going to talk to the fans and let y'all know your team sucks.
You got 0 points, he said to the guys in the stands who were talking shit to him. That's why he's talked back at them. You look at the scoreboard. You got 0 points. That's what he said.
Zero.
I loved it. It was awesome.
Going into this game, I'm excited. Part of me is really excited. And then part of me is like, I'm kind of scared. I'm nervous because it's a division game. The Bills didn't look great on offense last week. And you just, Brian Flores usually has his guys ready to play. Now, I know the last time the Bills played the Dolphins, the Bills just destroyed them in Buffalo. So you kind of think, okay, well, they're going to come in. They're going to have this mindset that they're just going to want to just hammer us. They're going to want to take it to us. They got guys like Jalen Waddle, and you just think, okay, like, Mike Gesicki, we've had issues with covering him and so forth. And you just go, damn, like this could go either way. So I had the Bills winning 31-27 and the Bills scored 35 points and they did not allow a single point.
I had the Bills going 34-20, but a shutout. Wow. And you hit on a lot of things that, man, I'll tell our listeners and watchers here, if you did not listen to the Friday podcast that dropped, the Hoof podcast on Friday that I did in preview for the Dolphins game, you should go back and listen because a lot of what I said was spot on with this game. I brought up Gesicki and the fact that the Bills have had trouble with him, but the fact that Tua doesn't use him, right? Tua never throws to Gesicki, and I don't know why. He just doesn't use him. He doesn't prefer him. The fact that the Dolphins have all these weapons, their team on paper with guys now like Waddle, all their receivers are good. Their running back room is good. None of those guys are superstars, but they're all really good. And, they had a threat. Like you said, it wasn't a game that I was like, oh, we're definitely going to do this. But it all runs through Tua. And Tua couldn't get the job done in this game. I mean, he was only out there for 2 drives, and I don't want to say anything about a guy getting hurt, but damn, I was hoping he was going to be out there for the whole game after those 2 drives because they absolutely crushed him. And we definitely did everything I said we had to do, the pressure up the middle. I also predicted that the Bills would run the ball more in this game, that Singletary would have a good game. I didn't know. I said Zach Moss would play, but I didn't predict him to have 2 touchdowns. I predicted Singletary to have 2 touchdowns and Josh Allen actually to have 2 passing and 1 rushing, but under 300 yards. And he ended up with 2 passing, and he had the 1 rushing that got called back that Zach Moss eventually got. So I was pretty spot on with the analysis here. But one of my take-home messages from this, the Miami Dolphins, you remember that line from The Waterboy? Alligators are angry because they got all them teeth and no toothbrush. Well, that's the Miami Dolphins right now. The Miami Dolphins got all them teeth, all them weapons, and no toothbrush and no quarterback. So, I mean, it all goes through that. You can't do it. It doesn't matter who's out there. You can have all-star Hall of Fame position by position, and you don't have a quarterback to run the show. And guess what? You're not going to win games. And that is ultimately what cost them in this game, I think.
Yeah, so Miami had 216 yards total. Like, that's it, which equivalent to 145 yards passing,
this is
71 yards rushing. It was a rough outing. And the thing that, not just us, but a lot of us says Tua doesn't throw to Gesicki because Gesicki is never Tua's first read.
He's a first read quarterback.
Right. You take and they, Leslie Frazier, Sean McDermott, they knew if they were to take away Tua's first read, he is going to have a tough time, getting to the rhythm of the offense. And I didn't expect this, but I love the fact that they use nuance and variety in their blitz packages because, they rushed 4 to 5, but you didn't know who was coming. I mean, you had, Micah Hyde coming in. He got his first sack as a Buffalo Bill. I mean, Trey White was in the backfield. I mean, these
God.
from a backfield, from the secondary point
Trey
of view.
White missed a couple. He could have had 2 sacks in this game, and he missed them. But
and that's just one layer. If you want to talk about pressure, Gregory Rousseau with 2 sacks. I mean, AJ Epinesa with 9 hurries.
Oh my
9 hurries. I mean, this guy was coming off the edge like a possessed man. I mean, and the pass rush moves that he used. I mean, I love the way he was, uses his hands and bend around the corner. That was one of the things that the AJ needed to work on was, his bend around the corner, bend around the edge, and his closing speed. And you saw that. I mean, he had the hit that knocked Tua out of the game. I mean, again, we talked about this in the offseason. We talked about it after week 1, but this defense has showed up again, and they look great. And that's not even the best part of the defense because we haven't talked about Taron Johnson or Matt Milano.
Yeah.
Taron Johnson is playing like a top 5 cornerback in this league and from the slot position. There's not a guy on this defense that's playing better than Taron Johnson, who was in a contract year.
Yes.
Taron, Leslie Frazier calls him a coach on the field. I mean, that's high praise for a guy coming out of Weber State. I mean, it's everything you want.
I mean, the defense played well all around, but it's specifically with Johnson. I said on the show way back in the offseason that best case scenario, Johnson is not a Buffalo Bill next year, and it's because he plays out of his shoes this year. We win a Super Bowl, and he gets paid top dollar somewhere else, and the Bills can't afford to pay him right now. And that so far, that's exactly what he's looked like this year. He's lived up to the bill. And you could go down the entire defense as you just did. Epinesa, what a coming out game for that guy. If this is even Epinesa's ceiling, if he just showed us the ceiling of what he can be, you're talking about a perennial all-pro, right? If he plays like that. That is absolutely amazing. Rousseau, he had 2 sacks in the game. They were kind of clean up, but it's the fact that he was there at the right place at the right time, getting the pressure on, making the plays. Ed Oliver bringing the pressure coming through. You mentioned Matt Milano, again, a guy who's playing top level right now. Tremaine Edmonds running the show back there, making the calls on defense, also getting through, making plays, not giving up on plays. The defense is stout. We said this last week with the Steelers. A block punt and starting twice in your own red zone and only giving up field goals. The defense was dominant last week, but they made a few mistakes. This week, the defense even stepped it up a level more. And one of the questions that I have is, this was the first time we saw Star Lotulelei back on this team.
Yes, I was going to bring him up next.
2 years. And I think that part of that, my big question is, wow, we had mentioned before, is this defense that worse off without Star? And now we've seen it with Star. Granted, they were still dominant last week without him, but this week with him, now we're calling all these players' names and saying all this list. Man, I hope that's the case, because if Star is healthy moving forward and this defense can play that well when he's out there, man, it's going to be a top 2, 1, 3 defense at worst, and that's amazing.
Absolutely. And the fact that Star was back in the game, it really does help Star, and it helps the whole defense that you have guys next to him that can win 1v1. Star, he had some reps out there where he was, handling 2 guys. Yeah. And that only opens up, opportunities for guys like AJ Epinesa, guys on the edge, or Ed Oliver, it's funny that you mentioned, Greg Rousseau has cleanup sacks, but a sack is a sack. And if you look at how, there was one rep where his length and athleticism, he just straight bull rushed the right tackle and almost destroyed Jacoby Brissett. Mm-hmm. It's something special, and I'm here for it. I'm telling you, I'm here for it. It's one of those things. What's funny is our palate gets wiped year to year. Let me explain what I'm saying here. Sean McDermott comes in, and we know that he's a great defensive coordinator, right? And his defenses in Buffalo have been great. Last year was the only year they took a step back. You want to call it COVID or whatever, lack of cohesion together. They weren't bad, but they weren't typical injuries. Sean McDermott defenses. You go back to 2012 when he was defensive coordinator with the Eagles and so forth. He's always had really good defenses. And I love the fact that now they have the personnel where you're seeing so much diversity pre-snap. where they're disguising and window dressing coverages and confusing quarterbacks and so forth, and they're rushing these guys. And, there were times where Groot was back in coverage.
Oh,
it's a beautiful thing. And the fact that, and I love Gregory Rousseau, so I'm going to talk about him, but the fact that his awareness, to be able to go back in coverage and then, hunker down and disciplined to go after the quarterback as he sees him, escape the pocket and close in and make a tackle. Man, that's the kind of stuff that you want to see from a young defensive end. And it's a special thing. And I think it's one of those things that kind of goes unnoticed. But this defense is playing lights out. Matt Milano, from a pass rush perspective, from his run fits to his pass coverage. I mean, these guys were all over the field. I mean, and it's a beautiful thing to see. So I expect a lot of the same things as we talk about the preview for the Washington game here in week 3. We're going to talk about some more of the details and nuances of how we think the Bills can win. But go ahead.
We do have to give a shout out to Jacoby Brissett, because I texted, Eric and Sterling and I have a little bit of chat going on during the game. And one of the things I said after Brissett came in is, wow, this guy is tough as nails. I mean, I was impressed with him staying in the pocket, making a few juke moves. These guys were coming at him every play with everything they got. And he was able to get the ball away or stiff arm or make a move. He got hit a lot too, but my God, he took the hit and he went through the play. And I was really impressed with him. Obviously, their offense wasn't able to get it done. So it's not like, oh, wow, he's a good quarterback or whatever. But for him to come in and step into that situation where all these guys are coming at you, I was really impressed with his overall toughness and grit to stay in the pocket and not get – I mean, any other quarterback, a lot of quarterbacks would just be terrified at that moment because every play they're coming right at you. But he was able to do a lot of impressive stuff out there. So shout out to Brissett. He got a few stats. He got a few good plays, but it was bend but don't break out there. Maybe a few plays. Even the announcers mentioned it's like the Dolphins play well until they get into the Bills' territory, and then they can't do anything, right? They got like 3 first downs into Bills' territory, punt, because the Bills locked it down on defense. And that's exactly what their philosophy is usually in games. You can
the Bills locked out on defense. So let's, as we talk about the defense, we know what they did. Levi Wallace had a bounce back game,
interception,
with the interception,
awesome
and you saw him, he kind of flexed on a wide receiver after he laid that big hit, and I was like, I'm here. Well, they gave him a flag. But he got an interception, a few plays later. Levi, with his confidence, I was great. It was awesome to see. Dane Jackson. I mean, the Dolphins were 0-4 on 4th down conversions. I mean, this defense is incredible. Huge. It's incredible. This defense is really good so far out of the 2 weeks. They're only allowing 11 points a game. But let's for now, let's put the defense aside, okay? Mm-hmm. But let's talk about this offense. So let me kind of give you what I'm thinking, schematically on offense. So I mentioned that, I know we're all looking for, those highlight plays and Josh Allen to blow up the stat sheet. And there's some things that Allen needs to clean up from a mechanical point of view and just his overall process. He's late on a couple throws here and there, but he needs to do a better job of taking what the defense gives him. Mm-hmm. I would say that. And like I said, his mechanics are kind of off, and he's kind of pressing to get Emmanuel Sanders the ball. I know they're trying to build that chemistry. Joe Marino in this podcast mentioned that, they're not doing as much, play action pass and so forth. They need to kind of get back to the foundation and the basis of what made them successful last year, but it's year to year, right? NFL is week to week. We know the type of quarterback Josh Allen is. I do expect him to get back into that. But here's a hypothetical or something that I've been thinking about, So after you watch that game, it made me go back to last season in the playoffs. When things got tight for the Bills, you saw a lot of you saw teams, only rush 4 and they're dropping 7 in the coverage and so forth. He's seeing a lot of that now. I think that's a young quarterback taking that next level. Those are things that teams do to Aaron Rodgers and the top quarterbacks in the game. So he's getting that recognition. Now he just needs to capitalize on these on these opportunities. And so we go back to last year, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's one of those things where Dable and his offense are trying to prepare themselves for the playoffs. They're like, okay, we know we can go 10, 11 personnel, and we can dink and dime you. We can hit you the intermediate, and Josh Allen's going to hit you with the occasional deep ball because he's going to roll out and so forth. We know the Bills can do that. But what we're seeing from this offense, and that it's and they're trying to try. It seems like they're trying to build momentum. They're trying to build that cohesion. The effectiveness of running the ball. Their effectiveness of giving teams different looks. Now, we also heard that the Bills kind of on Saturday, they kind of added things to their game plan from not just from a run and pass blocking point of view, but from a plays in general. In the pass game, you see them adding stuff. And Josh Allen says he doesn't have much say in that, right? And so we know Dable is a thinking man's coordinator. He's always going to try to think his way through a situation and come up with nuanced plays and variety, right? I want to see them I want to see them be multiple. So when we get to the playoffs, we can hand it off to Devin Singletary, who's having a good season so far. We've seen some strides from the line from a blocking standpoint. They improved as a line from a pass blocking standpoint. So I say all that to say is this: hold on, everyone. Let's before we close the book on Josh Allen, say, well, it's the contract and it's because he's playing with fans in the stadiums and so forth. Maybe I think there's a different side to say. Maybe they're working on things to build throughout the season so that they have a more sustainable offense in the playoffs. And I don't think that's a far-fetched idea, just given how Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane, these are guys that there's no stone that goes unturned. I mean, they're constantly thinking of all these scenarios, and I have to think, okay, maybe that's one of the things they're trying to do is they're trying to build cohesion in this offense to be multiple as much as they can. Anthony, what are your thoughts on that idea?
Yes, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head, right? It's Josh Allen. It's not because there's fans in the stands and he can't do it anymore. It's not because he got paid, so he's not suddenly putting in the effort anymore. No, it's all about the defense is responding to Josh Allen, and they're ready for Josh Allen. And our running backs are stepping up. We saw in this game 3 touchdowns, 2 from Moss and 1 from Singletary. At the beginning of the game, it was Singletary who got the action going. Why? Because Miami, with their great DBs and coverage, dropped back, and Singletary busted through and was able to speed pass them all and get his touchdown. Right away in the second play of the game, I think it was for us. And he busted that open, 46 yards, touchdown, puts us ahead. Our offense in the first half was not good enough, not even nearly good enough. They came out in the second half and scored again on the lead drive, which was great to see. But that first half, I put out a tweet. I'm like, that was nowhere near good enough. It's 14-0. It should be about 50-0 because we had every opportunity given to us, and they did not play well. Josh Allen did not look his best. He missed some reads. He threw a bad interception. It was, it's just, it happens. He's a normal quarterback. He's still throwing the ball out there. He is finding his groove. Like you said, he's going to adjust. He's going to get better. That's why I predicted coming into this game that the Bills would rush more than they needed to pass in this game, that Allen would not be a 300-yard, 4-touchdown type of game, because I truly believed that they would be ready. Those DBs are good, and they were ready for Allen. Man, they had a few plays. Even Singletary had the fumble out of bounds. He didn't lose it. Moss had the fumble. Miami's defensive strength is taking the ball away, and that is what they were doing in that first half. They were actively going after the ball, and Josh Allen wasn't able to capitalize as much as he should. But that's not all on Josh Allen's shoulders. As you said, the offensive line was better in this game, but there were still too many guys in Josh Allen's face in like 2.5 seconds or less. They stepped up a little bit, but it was not good enough for me. Again, I was like, come on, offensive line. Josh Allen can't do it all on his own. Yeah, he likes to roll out on plays, and when there's pressure at him, even on the touchdown to Diggs, which was one of my favorite plays of the game, he rolls out, there's pressure at him, he evades it, he comes over, there's another guy. Diggs fell down, gets back up, and Allen's waving, just get open, and then throws it to him and touchdown. That play wasn't on the books. That's a backyard football right there. And they got it done. Touchdown. And Josh Allen is capable of doing those things, but we have to do the scripted plays too. You got to find the guys that are open. You need time to do that. It starts up front with that offensive line. To me, that's been the biggest change of this season coming in. The offensive line is not good enough right now. They were horrible last week, despicable, disgusting. This week they were downright, disappointing, I'd say. Not good enough. Still not good enough. You have to do better for Josh Allen to do his thing. And the run game was better because they were dropping in pass. I have been a proponent all along saying that Moss and Singletary are good enough to get it done for this team the way we want to play. We can still rely on the run and win games. We just showed it. Josh Allen wasn't the primary reason we won that game. We were able to run. We were able to dominate, 3 touchdowns on rushing. It was a well-rounded game. And it still revolves around Josh Allen, but it wasn't because of Josh Allen in this game.
And you go back to Singletary's first year, and he feasted off of light boxes. And I think we're seeing the same thing this year. We're seeing light boxes. And so I think, there probably needs to be a paradigm shift to where, you start feeding Singletary a little more, getting him the ball, and running him as much as you can. I mean, I think he's averaging like 13 carries a game right now. Let's up that to 17 carries and see what his output is, because he's showing you that he's capable of producing in light boxes. Now, when teams are stacking the box, 7 to 8 man fronts in the box, he's not as dynamic. But if teams are so afraid of what Josh Allen is bringing to the table in terms of, his running ability, in terms of him, getting outside the pocket and making plays, and they're dropping 8, in the coverage, 7 in the coverage, I think, Dable needs to kind of shift and maybe, run the ball just a tad more with Devin Singletary, Zach Moss. Zach Moss was great in a short yardage situation. Both of these running backs need to clean up. They're fumbling the ball too much. I don't necessarily.
The football.
I don't appreciate that.
Yeah.
But are you? And for those of you who are out there watching the show, are you of the mind that are you willing to take a little less razzle dazzle or Josh Allen putting the load on his shoulders and letting these other guys produce? Are we willing to see that? Because Josh Allen coming into this year, we're like, okay, it's Super Bowl and it's MVP for Josh Allen. I'm not saying he can't do those things right now, but he definitely has some hurdles that he needs to overcome. I don't know if it's a confidence thing, if he's trusting what he's seeing, if it's, he's trying to force that chemistry, but I think he just needs to let the game come to him a little bit better. I think Dable needs to do a better job of getting Josh Allen comfortable and getting him ways where he could just get into a rhythm. We've seen this out of Josh Allen for 3 years, where if you get him in a rhythm early, he's comfortable. He can make the plays that he needs to make, makes the throws that he needs to make, getting comfortable in the pocket. I think, we're weak at guard. Darrell Williams is not as good as he was last year, and the whole offensive line needs work right now. They need to improve, and we saw that last week. They improved some, but that's not going to cut it, because we have a formidable opponent this week in the Washington football team that's going to present some challenges for this Bills offensive line in the front seven. So this is going to be a gigantic test this week, watching this Bills front against this vaunted defense that Washington has. Now they have all the names on paper, as we know, but they haven't gelled. They've
been giving up a lot of points to these first 2 games.
They have.
We're going to get to that soon, but I wanted to add in. I don't know if anybody saw one of our least favorite so-called reporters out there in his predictions. We'll just call him NW for now. That buddy, him. What he said leading up to this game, his prediction for this game was that Miami would not only win the game, but that Tua would dominate, that the Bills would fall to 0-2, that the Bills weren't good enough to run the ball, that they couldn't run the ball. They're not capable of running the ball. They weren't able to get pressure, and Tua would look like a superstar. Literally everything he said on Saturday turned out to be the complete opposite on Sunday. So maybe we should thank him for, getting it completely wrong, pun intended, all over again, right? It's funny. He was just being the Bills troll that he always is, but literally every word that came out of his mouth turned out to be the complete opposite. So gotta absolutely love that.
Yeah, and people get so hell-bent on what Nick Wright says, and you shouldn't. I mean, he's paid to troll the Bills.
Yep, exactly.
Like, that's his thing. Like, he just doesn't like the Bills, and I don't care what he likes. Yeah, it's hilarious. It's hilarious.
Opposite, dead wrong. You could not be more wrong. You could try to be wrong, and you couldn't be more wrong.
Yeah, it's trash. It's trash takes, but these guys get paid sometimes to make trash takes, and they're not necessarily reminded of their bad takes, and it's okay. But Yeah, no, he was wrong all the way around, like you said. And who freaking cares? If the Bills are on your mind living and they're living rent-free in your head, then by all means, buddy,
Just makes me laugh.
let us. It's hilarious. It's freaking hilarious. Okay, so real quick, so before we we do have a few things that we definitely want to talk about here. Let's our sponsor, the IDP Army. Our show is presented by IDP Army. It's mostly IDP, all fantasy football. The IDP Army is a fantasy sports media brand that creates entertaining and insightful fantasy football content and products with a holistic approach to fantasy football. Their flagship product, the Ultimate IDP Index, is the #1 resource for IDP fantasy football players. The Ultimate IDP Index is an index of tiered rankings, detailed player profiles going back to 2017, contract information to suggested trade values, weekly snap percentage tracker, and suggested start sits that are updated daily in season. The Ultimate IDP Index was created and curated by Jordan Rains, founder of the IDP Army. Jordan has been a top 5 draft expert ranker for IDP on Fantasy Pros for the past 2 seasons. Go to idparmy.com for more details. And we thank IDP Army for being our sponsor here on the Hoof Podcast Live and Cover One.
Awesome fantasy advice, a little bit different perspective. Things like trade value. Who can you get? What do you want to give up if you're offering somebody in a trade? What should you get back? Especially with their other tools that are so unique, the value in dynasty leagues, if you're going salary or if you're just in a plain dynasty league, lots of great rankings. Definitely check them out if you're a big fantasy person.
Absolutely. So, all right. So we're kind of, we're kind of doing our show. We want to kind of move into another portion of our show. So those of we're not going to do, we're doing 2 shows a week, but we're just going to do them both here. So we're going to do our weekly recap of the game on our Tuesday nights, but then we're going to get a deep dive into what's to come for the following week. So, we're going to shift our focus to week 3, to the Washington football team. And I want to make sure that you guys are fully aware that, the Hoof Live, we are doing a jersey giveaway. I want to make sure you guys knew about that. So if you submit questions to the hooflive@gmail.com, we are giving a jersey giveaway every single month. So that's coming up in a few weeks here. All you have to do is submit a question to the hooflive@gmail.com. And also make sure you like, follow, and subscribe. And the whole purpose of doing this is to get more fan engagement and interaction. And I know, we've heard some fans want to get to know us on a more personal level and so forth. Well, this is the place to do it. So make sure you submit your questions to the hooflive@gmail.com and enter your name to win a Bills jersey. So with that being said, now we are going to wrap up this part of the show. This is where we're going to say, see you later. Go Bills, and we're out of here.
Go Bills.
And we are going to segue into our Washington football team preview. Okay, so on this part of the show, we're going to be giving you guys our predictions, our analysis and breakdowns of how the Bills can win or what to expect, with these teams each and every week. Just so you are listening to the Hoof Podcast on the Cover One Network. So with that being said, Anthony, let's get into this. So week 3, Bills they have a home game against the Washington football team. And, we saw the Bills last week come off a big win, a 35-0 win. And that was the largest shutout win for the Dolphins since 1966, And so it's like you have the 2 polar opposites. The Bills kind of came out flat in week 1. We see them come with a renewed mind and renewed energy in week 2. Now I want to see, okay, what are we going to get week 3? Okay. And so you have a Washington football team that comes in here, they are 1-1. Ryan Fitzpatrick is injured. I think he has a hip injury, and Tyler Heineke is now the starting quarterback, who is the backup quarterback, but he does have playoff experience dating back to last season when he played in the playoff game against Tampa, and they lost. Okay, but this Washington team is no slouch. Okay, this is a pretty good team. These guys they're pretty good on roster standpoint. They're really good on defense. They're coached by Ron Rivera, who's a very good coach, is the Sean McDermott.
That's right.
You know,
it's
it's where
be
he learned a lot of his, you know, his coaching from him. And I'm excited for this game. And I think the Bills have some opportunities to exploit this Washington football team. And just, you know, from a statistical point of view, you know, you're going to see, you know, the Washington gives up 407 yards per game. That is 25th, okay, in the league. So they are, you know, they give up yardage. They rank 24th in pass yards allowed. Okay, that's not very good. And they are 17th in points per game at 24.5. You know, we saw them get a big win last week against the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
And I've watched that game maybe 3 times. Okay, and you know, there's some things that I think the Bills can do from, you know, on offense and defense that we're going to get into. But Anthony, what are your first takeaways of this Washington football team?
The first thing that comes to mind, big, huge red flag of, oh my God, please, is the Bills' offensive line. They have to get better. You have got to play. This is one of the best defensive lines in football, one of the best defensive coach teams in terms of the defensive line in all of football. Now, they've been giving up points, obviously, so they're vulnerable. But they're only vulnerable if you can hold off the guys up front. If you can't hold off them guys up front, then and make Josh Allen look like the Bills made Tua look last week, then it's going to get ugly, and you cannot do that. So there is cause for concern right there, because the game will stop and end if they are not able to do that. The good thing is, I also believe that the Bills' defense is going to be completely capable of shutting down this Washington football team offense, and that might save us all together. So maybe it ends up being a low-scoring affair if the Washington D-line puts it on our O-line, but I'm still confident that the Bills can win this game at the strength of their defense and the Washington weakness on offense.
Yeah. So yeah, watching this game, you know, let's talk about Tyler Heineke first. You know, we'll talk about the offense, and he's a game manager. You know, this guy, he's not, you know, athletically gifted. You know, he's an average quarterback in terms of his athleticism. He has a, you know, average to below average NFL arm. You know, he doesn't have great arm strength. So, you know, I think the Bills' ability to window dress and apply pressure to him is going to prove to be key. One of the things I noted that, you know, he's one of those first read guys. You know, he's a young quarterback, so they rely on that first read. And if you allow him, I think he's better than Tua in the sense if you allow him to, I think he's smarter in terms of how he processes the game pre-snap and post-snap than Tua. So if you allow him to get in the rhythm and to find his hot, you know, his first read, he's gonna be able to move the ball down the field. You know, this is a team that has a decent offensive line. You know, they got Antonio Gibson in the backfield. They got Terry McLaurin. You know, they have De'Ami Brown. I mean, they you know, and Logan Thomas, the Buffalo Bill great, right? At tight end. And so, but when you take away his first read, he's late on throws. You know, there's numerous occasions last week against you know, the Giants where if you take away his first read, you know, he kind of struggles. You know, he needs to know where his next option is, and he's not very good at reading the defense. So, you know, I almost want to kind of say that, you know, if the Bills come out and they use, you know, kind of the same game plan that they use with against the Dolphins, where they're blitzing off the edge or they're doing a little bit of window dressing, I think they could find some success on defense. So, Anthony, you know, based off of what you've seen from Washington football team, you know, how do you think the Bills can be successful, maybe applying pressure or stopping this Washington football offense?
I think you're right that they do have weapons, right? Gibson, one of the best running backs in the NFL, you know, especially in fantasy, right? He's always a top guy being drafted. They've got McLaurin as a wide receiver. You know, he's certainly a playmaker. I like J.D. McKissick, who's a running back who also pass catches, always making plays back there. I usually draft him in fantasy every year because he gets touchdowns. He makes plays when he's out there. He doesn't need a lot of snaps to make plays. They have playmakers on offense. But, you look at the matchups they've had, this last matchup against the Giants, it's against the Giants. You're playing the Giants defense. They're one of the worst matchup defense out there right now. And you think you're going to do that same thing to the Buffalo Bills? I don't know about that. And you're right that their quarterback is one of these guys who I look at as he's out there, he's capable, but he's not dominant. He doesn't scare me. I want the game to go through him. If we can stop those running backs, Gibson and whoever else they put out there, if we can stop the running backs primarily, change the fronts like you said, confuse Heineke, make him, not know where the ball is going on your first read or whatever, he's going to be contained. If we can contain the quarterback, drop in coverage, you can bring 7, you can rush 7, you can drop 7. Just make him not know what's coming at him, which way you're going on defense. And that's what the Bills have done great in these first 2 matchups. But what does concern me is this matchup is more similar to the Pittsburgh matchup than it is to the Miami matchup on both sides of the ball, I think, right? Their defense is best on the D-line. Miami's is best with the cornerbacks and their defensive backs. On offense, they're better they have the weapons. They've kind of got this mediocre quarterback. I agree with you that Heineke is a step above of Tua, especially at this point. He's capable. He's a guy who can get it done. He proved that last year, got them to the playoffs. But he's certainly not somebody who scares me. So there's things to be worried about. But in the end, it still should be a matchup that favors the Buffalo Bills, our defense versus their offense. I don't think there's an argument that the Buffalo Bills have played the best defense in the NFL up until this point. They gave up 0 points against Miami. They gave up 1 touchdown in the first game and, a couple of points that were starting in your own territory, in your own red zone. But we're not the reason that we lost that first game. And now you're playing a team that is not electric on offense. So your defense has to be able to get it done. And you do the same thing they've been doing. And it starts and ends. Tremaine Edmonds has to call the right reads and right plays. Every guy's got to know where they are. The rotation on that D-line to bring in those fresh pass rushers who are ready to come after him. And, drop, like you said, they could still drop back in coverage. They could still do all of that. Confuse the crap out of them on defense. Bring the pass rush. Trey White, he almost had 2 sacks against Miami. Bring the pass rush with him. Make him confused. Like we said, after McLaurin, I don't know that there's a huge playmaker wide receiver for them that certainly, strikes fear into the Bills defense.
Well, there is a wide receiver that I think is pretty damn good, and that's Derrick McLaurin. I mean, he's 3rd round pick out of Ohio State a few years back, but the main focus and emphasis is offensive line for this Washington football team. They got Charles Leno Jr. at left tackle. I think that, it's Eric Flowers at left guard, Chase Roulier at center. Brandon Scherf is one of the best right guards in the league. And then Sam Cosmi he's ho-hum at right tackle out of University of Texas. I think there's opportunities to be had against this offensive line where the Bills defensive line can apply pressure. We see from watching the film, you see Washington, they line up in a lot of, 10 personnel, 11 personnel, and they like to spread it out, 2-by-2 formations, bunch formations, and they want to employ a quick passing game. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I noticed that when they're running the ball, they're typically under center. You don't see a lot of runs from the shotgun point of view. So they're kind of doing power formations. Now, Antonio Gibson can catch the ball in the backfield, and he does run, from these shotgun formations, but they're not very diverse in terms of, they try to have some pre-snap confusion. They do bring guys in motion and try to get guys on the edges for speed and stuff like that. But I didn't see a lot. There was nothing on that offense that I would go, man, I'm afraid. Exactly. I think it's one of those things where you need to disguise your blitzes. You need to apply pressure to this offensive line. The defensive line has to win. This game will be won in the trenches for the Bills if they're going to do that. If they can somehow get Tyler Heineke off his first read and make him go through his progressions and make plays, then that's Washington's formula for success. So I don't know what that's going to look like Sunday, but I really do think I see from a Washington offensive point of view versus the Bills defensively, I definitely see the advantage to the Bills in this matchup.
Yes, it has to be.
And it has to be. And I think the Bills have shown their ability to really hone in and lock in on Pittsburgh is a really good offense. So
yes,
this offense is nowhere near what Pittsburgh brings to the table. Like I said, you got to be mindful of Terry McLaurin. You got a guy like Diamond Brown who runs routes like a veteran. I mean, his route running has been surprising and eye opening thus far. But outside of that, man, I mean, they don't have Curtis Samuel. He's on injured reserve. I think that's going to hurt them moving forward in this matchup. And Logan Thomas is a decent to good tight end. He's shown some flashes and ability.
Yeah, he'll want to play well against his former team.
For sure. But this is an away game for them. They're coming to Buffalo. The last time the Bills played Washington in Buffalo, I was there at that game.
Nice.
And the Bills came away with the W. Now, Josh Allen, he was still a young quarterback, but he didn't have the best game statistically. So this is probably on paper the best defense that the Bills have faced thus far. Again, Pittsburgh was very strong up front in their front seven. But the top to bottom, this Washington football team, they have guys. I mean, we're talking about, if you go through their defensive line, they got Chase Young, Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, Montez Sweat, Matt Ioannidis, and Kendall Fuller, Landon Collins. I mean, William Jackson is a free agent addition. And so they have the names on paper, but they really haven't gelled together thus far this season. That's a problem because Ron Rivera usually has really good defenses. So what are your take on the Washington football team defense as a whole?
Yes, exactly what you said. They are not living up to expectations. This was supposed to be the best defense out there, along with the Rams and maybe people who were putting the Bills in that conversation with our now that Star's back and we're healthy and all of that. So Washington has certainly not been one of the best teams defensively in football. But what they are is scary up front. And, I've already highlighted that, but you went through the names: Chase Young, Montez Sweat, Jonathan Allen. These guys are coming at you in your face. They bring pressure a lot. And that's exactly what could work against the Bills and did against the Steelers, right? Exactly like the Steelers. They have playmaking. Their best players are up front. Their weakness is their cornerbacks and their defensive back. And the Bills couldn't get it done on offense against the Steelers because Josh Allen had no time to throw the ball. That cannot happen in this game. And I don't know that you're going to be able to sneak in a run and get it past that first level. Maybe if they're all coming at Josh Allen and Singletary can split by those guys and make a play. But they're going to be ready for that as well. So I that is my biggest concern. If there is a room where Washington could take advantage and stay in this game and potentially win the game, it is right there. It's going to be at the expense of our O-line and the strength of their D-line, because that's their strongest strength and right now our weakest weakness. And so if they can game plan to attack, that's where the door is open for them. But I think, still coming from what I truly believe will happen is Josh Allen's going to take advantage of that weak defensive backfield. Again, look what the Giants did to this team. The Giants have good receivers. They're still gelling on offense, but they're by no means the Buffalo Bills offense. We're a little bit different. We have better wide receivers, I'd say, all around, but we don't have Saquon Barkley, who is probably the number one game plan when you're facing the Giants at this point in what they've shown on offense. And the Giants hung around with Washington in that game. It was more on the offensive side that Washington was able to get it done. So the Bills offensively, offensive line. This is a put up or shut up game. You showed how much you stunk versus Pittsburgh. You did okay versus Miami and were able to get it done. You show that you friggin' stink again versus this team, and you're all fired. I don't care who's there. Your all jobs are on the line, all of you, because you cannot lose to this team at home and drop 2 games at home because your O-line sucks. So you need to be able to run the ball. Yes, maybe you break one out through that line. We know what their game plan is. It's not a secret. Washington saw that Pittsburgh game against Buffalo. They are watching that tape right now, and they are licking their chops. And for all the Feliciano love that went around after this Miami game is bullcrap. All right? Because, he played better. John Feliciano played better in this game. Oh, look at John Feliciano playing better. Dude didn't even show up for Pittsburgh. He could have stood out there versus Miami and he would have played better. All right? So don't give me that crap. This is the game now. Now you got a real D-line in your face. You put up or shut up. You play decent in this game, and I'll say good game. All right? Because I think there's no way you shut that defensive line down. I think it's impossible to say, oh, we perfectly protect Josh Allen. He doesn't get sacked, and we shut that team down. They're going to get theirs. They're going to get home. Josh Allen's going to get hit. You just have to make sure it's not at the most worst time, or you make it a turnover or whatever. It's going to happen. You just don't want it to be at key moments in the game and cause a key play, because they're licking their chops coming after these guys, thinking we're one of the best defensive lines in football. If Pittsburgh was able to run over this offensive line, so will we. And we're banking on Deion Dawkins getting better. He did play better in this game. You know, John Feliciano gelling better. Cody Ford staying out there, playing consistently. Mitch Morse running the show up front. They got to get it done. Darrell Williams, who in both games, in my opinion, looked like crap. He blew his assignment on multiple occasions. Where is this guy? He played amazing for us last year. We paid him. Now all of a sudden he's not showing up and getting it done.
He needs to. So he's going to be facing Chase Young. You know, Chase Young predominantly lines up on the right-hand side. You know, they do kind of move Chase Young around a little bit on both sides, but predominantly 75% of the time, you're going to see him on the right-hand side. So he's going to be on Darrell Williams. So Darrell Williams is going to have to show up. Now, he did get TJ Watt week 1, and he did not live up to expectations or the play that he had the season before. But one of the things that I want to bring about the Washington defense is they play very aggressive. You know, their pass rush lanes, they do not do a good job of containing the quarterback. You know, you saw a guy like Daniel Jones, who's the agile quarterback. He's a fast quarterback. He was able to get some big runs against them. And if you do that against the Bills, Josh Allen's going to make you pay. Exactly. Now, Josh Allen is going to have to make sure that he's holding on to the football. But, you know, you need this line on the edges to hold up, you know. And by God, I need Josh Allen. Look, he needs to understand where the blitz is coming from and know that when he's out rolling around, he's not going to have all this time, because you have two guys on the edge, and Montez Sweat and Chase Young, who are exceptional athletes. So you're not going to just be able to outrun them and stiff arm one guy. I mean, these are dudes on the outside. So, you know, I think one of the keys to with this, you know, for the Bills on offense, I think one of the keys is I think you're going to have to go 10, 11 personnel. You know, you have to spread them out. This is a team that's weak at linebacker. You know, you got John Bostic and Jamin Davis, rookie out of Kentucky, who I think will be a very good player. But right now, he's just not there yet. And I think, you know, Dawson Knox is showing a lot of improvement catching the ball. I think you need to get him more involved in the offense this game, because they've shown that they are having a hard time not only covering tight ends, but the middle of the defense is weak. You got a guy, Landon Collins, who just wants to lay a big hit. He's not really good in coverage. There's going to be opportunities to exploit this team over the middle. And then you got Cameron Curl as their other safety, who's not very good. Again, this team, you know, from a roster standpoint, defense, they do have a lot of names, but again, they have not been playing up to that standard. So 10, 11 personnel. I think Josh Allen's going to have to take those easy completions, what the defense is giving them. Let's get into a rhythm, get into a flow. And then I would like to see the Bills use some misdirection, the jet sweep action with Isaiah McKenzie. I think that was one of the things that I saw being effective with the Giants, because this team is so aggressive on the edges, and they really do, you know, they want to get after the quarterback and get sack numbers.
Yes.
But their run fits are not great, and they leave a lot to be had on the outside and the edges. So the Bills can definitely be advantageous.
I think you got to use the holes they give you, right? I was also going to bring up, I hate to bring up Pittsburgh again because we lost that game, but the Pittsburgh offensive approach is almost going to be the Bills' offensive approach here. We're not going to run it as many times as Pittsburgh would, and Big Ben certainly isn't Josh Allen at this point in his career. But what I mean is those short screen passes to the running back, their defensive line, as you said, is aggressive. They're coming at Josh Allen. Running back's right there. There's nobody covering him. Dunk it off. Let that guy make his play. Singletary, Moss, whoever it may be. Same thing with Dawson Knox. Over in the middle, like you said, they're weak at linebacker. That's going to be an excellent matchup key in this game. You let Dawson Knox run a little short route. You get him the ball, you run him the screen, and let him make the play over the middle, because we know those guys are going to be coming in Josh Allen's face. Even if the offensive line has a weak game and those guys are coming, as long as you're running those short routes and you have that dunk off guy ready for the screen play or the short pass. Same thing with our route running. We don't need to run deep routes. We don't need to try and throw the ball 50 yards down the field. Get back to your strength, Josh Allen. It's over the middle, short passes, that intermediate zone, 6 to 10 yards. Let Beasley and Diggs run those little 6-yard slants. And maybe run one guy deep, and let the other two, let Emmanuel Sanders and Beasley cut 4 and 6 yard routes, and then let Diggs go deep, because they're going to cover all those guys, and somebody's going to be open, even if the O-line gives in and there's pressure in Josh Allen's face. Because he's got to get the ball out quick in this game. That's going to be the name of the game against this defensive line. There's plays to be had, and those playmakers. The only thing I don't like about your point on Isaiah McKenzie is, if you're going to play him in the jet sweep, you need to put him out there for more plays where you don't run the jet sweep. Because again, versus Miami, you put him out there and you give him the ball. It's like, look, if you bring in a guy and he gets the ball every time he's in there, the team is going to know, cover that guy. He's out here. He's going to get the ball. That's not rocket science. And so far, that's exactly what they've done with McKenzie. Put him out there for more looks where he doesn't get the ball, and then they won't be ready for it when you run the jet sweep or whatever.
Yeah, and I'm hoping, I'm hoping to see that wrinkle. I would love for the Bills to kind of, implement their screen game. But, this is a game where a guy like Gabe Davis can really make his hay, because, you're going to have guys like Benjamin St-Juste. He's a 6'3" corner. He started at the University of Michigan. I think he went to the University of Minnesota, I believe, is where he got drafted. And he got DeShazier Elliott. And these guys are, St-Juste is a young corner. Elliott is not very good either right now. I think, this is a game where Gabriel Davis can really make some hay. They're going to have a mismatch opportunity. That's what I'm saying. If the Bills are really trying to go, 4 and 5 wide receiver, this is the game where you could really make them pay. And then it makes things like, Cole Beasley shine and Dawson Knox, so where it doesn't have to be, Allen doesn't have to force the ball to Stephon Diggs or Emmanuel Sanders. You kind of just let the flow of the game, let it come. Now, are you
still on the page with short to intermediate passes though? Because I think you're right. But if you go 4 and 5 wide, that obviously makes you more vulnerable to the pass rush.
Yeah,
you don't have that extra blocker.
Well, because they're so aggressive with their pass rush in terms of the edges. Yes. I want to put the offensive tackles on the island and sink or swim, right? And kind of see how the flow of the game goes, and sprinkle in some draw plays and get Devin Singletary out on a swing pass or two, to kind of cause some confusion to where, okay, they're going to pin their ears back, but now they got something to think about. So, and if they come too aggressive, they're going to get burned for a big play. And I really do expect Josh Allen to have about 60 or 70 rushing yards in this contest. Because I love it. Yeah, because, what they've shown on defense now, again, it doesn't have to be Stephon Diggs, which I think you should target him 10 times a game, every single game. He's going to get his. But other guys, Emmanuel Sanders, you don't have to force the ball into him. Get Cole Beasley more involved. Get Dawson Knox more involved. Yes. Gabriel Davis is going to have an opportunity for a big day this game. So I think if the Bills
assuming he's back and healthy, he played in this game against Miami, but
a little bit.
I think that he was questionable during the week, and I think that there was something going on that he didn't get as much action because of that.
I expect him to kind of be close to full. If he wasn't, they shouldn't have played him last week. So I think I think another week, I think he's gonna be okay. So I'm thinking coming into Sunday, I think he's gonna play a big role in this game. So let's do our prediction for this game. So I'm gonna go. I think the Bills are gonna win big. I think they're gonna win to the tune of, hear me out, I think 38 to 13. I think this Bills team, I think they're going to come out and they're going to steamroll Washington. I think they're going to start out fast. And, I never do like the big Bills.
I was going to say.
That's not me, but I really do think 38-13 this week.
Holy cow. Write it down. Sterling predicted the Bills to score more points and win a bigger than I did?
Yeah, 38-13 this week.
All right. I am still worried about this defensive front for Washington. But my final score is still to the tune of 28-16. Okay. I don't think they can get it done. I'll give them a few field goals. Maybe they get a turnover somewhere. to lead to a touchdown in short territory. Our defense is good enough to shut them down completely, I think. But I still, 20, 26, 27, 13, somewhere around there.
And let me explain, and real quickly, because we're gonna do your 5 for 5 next, buddy. Okay, so all you guys are trying to win some dollar, you're gonna listen to my guy Anthony here. But reason why I go with that 38-13 scores because they don't have an answer for wide receiver 3, 4, 5, or whoever, target wise. They just don't have an answer for that. William Jackson, Kendall Fuller, those are great corners. But I mean, listen, you're going to have to be able to cover every blade of grass. And if you're so aggressive on the outsides, Josh Allen is going to scramble. He's going to get around the pocket and make things happen. And that is a recipe for disaster. Now, Ron Rivera can coach them differently and tell them to contain more. We'll see. But they do not have the guys that Pittsburgh have from like a linebacker standpoint where you have a Devin Bush and some of these other guys that are good in coverage. They really lack in coverage. So Landon Collins is not a great safety. He's a box safety. He likes to come in and he likes to play and run support. And then, there are other guys he's not that good. So the middle to the deep zones are going to be there for the Bills. So I expect them to come in and run it up on them. 38-13. You're going to get Tyler Heineke behind the 8 ball. He's going to be playing from behind. And I think if Trey White, and Levi Wallace are covering McLaurin, now, if he plays in a slot, Taron Johnson's going to have to earn his bread there. But outside of him, they really don't have another option yet at wide receiver 2. So that's where I come with this Bills prediction. So with that being said, Anthony, as we move forward, okay, why don't you – before we do that, and I just want to make sure everybody knows that Anthony is one of the best when it comes to, making these bets and predictions week in, week out. He will say that he is a scientist. Okay, he will let you
break it down for you.
He will break it down, but this is his expertise. So, Anthony, give our listeners the 5 for 5 this week.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. What a bounce back week 2 we had. 4-1 after a 1-4 start in week 1. Ugh, that was painful, but week 1 is always weird in the NFL. Week 2, 4-1, and the one loss was the Rams by 0.5 points. I was that close to hitting a huge 5-way parlay. That would have been an even bigger weekend. But the biggest thing here is the top 2 bets of the week, which I did bet big, the Broncos against Jacksonville and the Bills against Miami. I won both of those bets, and I hope you did too, because we cashed it in big time in week 2. Now coming into week 3, let's continue to rack it up and keep that momentum going the way it should be. I'm going to start with number 5. So again, the way this works, my 5th one up to my number 1 pick. So my 5th pick here is the Browns -7 at home versus Chicago. Chicago looked a lot better in the week 2 than they did in week 1. But come on, the Browns have to be able to step it up. They're supposed to be one of the teams contending in the AFC. I don't know that they've showed that through 2 weeks right now. They are not on the level as some of these other teams in the AFC at this point. But they should be able to beat Chicago at home by more than 7 points. If they don't, that would be an embarrassment for me. So I have the Browns -7 versus Chicago. My 4th pick of the week here is Arizona -7 at Jacksonville. Now, I know what you're thinking. I've been ragging on Arizona, and they're not a team that I'm high on. But playing the Jacksonville Jaguars, a franchise that I think is still in disarray and still in rebuild mode, and Arizona has come out hot out of the gates. I think they can put up some points, and I'm not so sure Jacksonville can hang with them either on defense or on offense. So Arizona -7 at Jacksonville is my number 4 pick of the week. Number 3 coming in are the Raiders -3.5 versus the Miami Dolphins. Look, we just played this Miami Dolphins team. We know they're capable and their defensive backs. They have the offense. We're not sure if Tua is going to be playing in this game yet or not. But the Raiders have been electric so far this season on offense. And for them to be -3.5 at home versus Miami, I absolutely love the Raiders -3.5 here. Now for my number 2 pick, I'm coming back at it with the Denver Broncos. I was high on them in the preseason. They've shown us what they can do so far. I told you Teddy Bridgewater was going to win the job as soon as they got him. And he's there and he's putting up. The Denver Broncos are -10. I don't usually like big numbers, 10 or higher. I don't usually bet. but they're playing the New York Jets. All right. So in Denver. So I absolutely love Denver here. I think their defense and their offense overpower the Jets. Denver -10 versus the Jets. And my big bet of the week, the number one pick for me this week, is the Dallas Cowboys -3.5 versus the Philadelphia Eagles. This is a little disrespectful to the Dallas Cowboys. They came out and almost beat the world champion Tampa Bay Bucks. Then they came out and were an underdog and won a game that they weren't supposed to. And their offense is looking great. Everybody's healthy and playing well. And now they're only 3.5-point favorites against the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't like that at all. I am definitely putting a big bet on the Dallas Cowboys this week at -3.5. So there you have it. My 5 for 5 of the week. The Browns -7 at home versus Chicago. Arizona -7 at Jacksonville. The Raiders -3.5 at home versus Miami. Denver -10 at home versus the Jets. And number one, the Dallas Cowboys -3.5 versus Philly. Let's win some money this week. Let's go 5 for 5 and hit that big time parlay.
All right, Anthony, thank you for the 5 for 5. That is brought to you by the Cover One Network and Anthony Romeo NY on Twitter. As we close out the show, let's get into the picks. Anthony, we're not going to give any analysis here for sake of time. We're just going to go, who you got. So we got 11 o'clock matchup.
So before you even get started here, can we toot our own horn for a bit here?
Go ahead.
The Hoof Podcast. That's right, the Hoof Podcast. You know me. I love my picks. I do all of them against the spread, straight up and on over/under on Tally site. But Eric and Sterling are in the game now too, doing their picks every week. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? The Hoof Podcast was number one in all networks on Tally site this week overall for our picks, and number one overall for our picks against the spread in week 2. So the Hoof Podcast coming out on fire this week in week 2. Let's carry that momentum into week 3. How about it for us three gentlemen? Great job. Yes,
sir. That was dope. That was dope. Okay, so we talked about Washington, the Bills. We both got the Bills with a W. Let's talk about the Bears and the Browns. I'm going to say the Browns win this one. What say you?
Yeah, you heard my analysis in the 5 for 5. The Browns have to win this one at home and by more than 7 points against a team like Chicago.
All right, we got the Ravens at 11 a.m. at Ford Field. Ravens coming off a big win against the Chiefs, facing the 0-2 Lions. I'm going to take the Ravens. So you got?
This should be an easy win for the Ravens unless they have a real letdown after beating the best team, in the AFC or the favorite in the AFC.
So we have another 11 o'clock matchup, and this is Denver time, okay? So we have the 0-2 Colts, who just got Carson Wentz back, and now he's injured again, against the resurgent Titans at 1-1, winning a big game in overtime against Seattle last week. I'm going to take the Titans in this one. Who you got?
Titans. The Colts have been a letdown. They went all in with the quarterback, and he has let them down. It's got to be the Titans again here. Big win for them, big loss for the Colts.
We have another early game, a 1-1 Chargers traveling to Arrowhead against the Chiefs. I'm going to take the Chiefs here, but I think it's going to be a close one.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is going to be another high-scoring affair. Certainly the Colts or the Chargers had a big letdown this week, but they can hang. They can hang, and Kansas City is beatable. They proved that, but they're going to want to come back strong as well, so I think Kansas City wins this one.
And we have another early season game against the Saints, who are 1-1. They look great against Green Bay game 1. They kind of shit the bed week 2 against they played the Panthers. This week they got the Patriots. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take the Patriots at home in this one. The Saints have not shown the ability to stop the ball when it comes to running and in the running game. So I'm going to take the Patriots here with a W.
Ugh. I'm taking the Saints just because I'm not picking the Patriots.
I figured you'd do that.
Come on,
we got the battle of the losers. We have the 0-2 Falcons against the 0-2 Giants. I'm gonna go on this one, and it's in East Rutherford. Okay, so I'm gonna take the Giants here. I think Danny Dimes gets his first win.
Yeah, I'm also going to take the Giants in this one. Unfortunately, I like both of these teams. I was higher on both of these teams starting the season. Just because they start 0-2 doesn't mean it's all over for them, especially in the NFC. I feel like a losing record might make the playoffs here. So I'll take the Giants in this one, but the Atlanta offense is going to show something here.
Okay, next game, we got the Bengals and the Steelers in a divisional matchup at Heinz Field. We saw the Steelers lose to the Raiders in week 2 after a big win against Buffalo in week 1. I'm going to take the Steelers here. It all depends on if Ben Roethlisberger plays. I know he had an injury last week, but I do like what I've seen out of Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon. So I'm going to go with the Steelers here.
Yeah, I mean, I have to pick the Steelers here too, just because can the Bengals stop the run? I mean, even though he's a rookie, I expect him to do well against the Bengals front. So they don't need Big Ben to win this game, I don't think. They might even be better off without him, as crazy as that sounds. I'm taking the Steelers here.
And then we have the Arizona Cardinals with the if the season were to end today, Kyler Murray being the MVP. 689 yards and 7 touchdowns against the 0-2 Jaguars. I'm going to take the Cardinals because I hate everything Urban Meyer. So I'm going to take the Cardinals to go 3-0 here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not high on the Cardinals, and certainly we know that Kyler Murray is hyped up and then disappoints in the end. So I think they do win this game. They were part of my 5 for 5 segment, so obviously I definitely think they can beat Jacksonville.
And if you haven't picked up Rondale Moore in your fantasy league, you might as well do so. He's probably already gone, but 11 receptions, 182 yards, and a touchdown thus far this season. The 0-2 Jets against the 2-0 Broncos. The Broncos are going to cruise to 3-0. Bradley Chubb is out. He has an ankle injury along with Jerry Jeudy. But, our guy, the Jets quarterback there, little cutie, is Zach Wilson. He's not looking too good at 4 interceptions last week. What do you got?
Shout out to my friend Casey. She works for the Denver Broncos, but she is a diehard New York Jets fan. So this is like her Super Bowl, her 2 teams facing off. She's going to be stressed out, but at least she can walk away with a win. The Denver Broncos are going to win this one and win it big. Again, part of my 5 for 5 segment. The Jets, they're still finding their groove. I think Wilson, by the end of the season, he might be making some magic happen and upsetting some teams, but this team doesn't know what's happening to them, and the Broncos are super good on defense and good on offense, so it's got to be the Broncos.
Yes, Cortland Sutton had a big game last week. We have the 205 tilt Mountain Time. We have the Dolphins at 1-1 who just got obliterated by the Buffalo Bills at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. They play the Raiders. I do expect the Raiders to improve to 3-0. The Dolphins 1-2, especially if if Tua is going to play or not. I don't know. Jacoby Brissett might be a better option than Tua at this point, but I still think the Raiders are going to get the W.
Yeah, Raiders have been impressive. I got to take the Raiders here. They were part of my 5 for 5 segment again. Eric was higher on the Raiders than you and I were, but they've looked good coming out of the gate. Can they maintain it now, or will they have another letdown type of loss at home versus Miami? They can't let that happen.
And then we have the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the 2-0 Los Angeles Rams. This should be a preview of the NFC Championship game. Tom Brady he's off to a great year, throwing 9 touchdown passes. And you see the Rams have found a running game with Darrell Henderson with 123 yards, 2 touchdowns. Cooper Kupp had a great game last game. And Matt Stafford is looking the part for the LA Rams. I'm going to take an upset here. I'm going to go with the Rams because they're playing at home. And I think Aaron Donald is going to show out. So I'm going to take the Rams by 3 in this matchup. What do you got?
Yeah, very complementary teams, kind of different pieces. Now they have veteran quarterbacks, good D lines. Yeah, I'm going to pick the Rams here. I'm very high on the Rams, and I think the Bucs, they're not going to go undefeated. This is one of their toughest matchups of the year on the road. They can get it done, but it's going to be a nice game to watch, fun game to watch, and I'm taking the Rams.
You got the 1-1 Seahawks, the 0-2 Vikings in Minneapolis. I'm going to take the Seahawks in this game, even though Dalvin Cook is averaging about 95 yards a game, 42 carries. Tyler Lockett had a big game last week, and I expect the Seahawks to get back out on top. So the Vikings are trash, and there you have it.
2 teams. The Vikings aren't trash. That's the thing. They can pass the ball. They've got great wide receivers. They've got one of the best running backs in the NFL, and yet they somehow find a way to lose. Here's what happened in week 2. The Vikings Vikinged, and the Seahawks Seahawked. All right? They both lost in devastating fashion because they screwed up themselves. They both kicked themselves in the butt and lost. All right? So in this game, somebody has to win, you would assume, unless it ends in a tie, which very well may happen. But I am actually going to pick the Vikings to upset the Seahawks in this one.
All right. So, and then we have our Sunday night matchup. The Packers 1-1 against the 49ers. 49ers are 2-0. Jimmy Garoppolo is playing, he's playing good football right now. He's playing efficient football. He doesn't have the numbers as far as a touchdown perspective, but Deebo Samuel, Elijah Mitchell, these are guys that have played big. I'm going to go with the Packers here. Packers going to up in the 49ers. Wow. And I'd say they're going to win by 5. So Packers 35, 49ers 30. What say you?
The 49ers are my Super Bowl team that I picked. All right. Calling on Chris Berman, right? Bills, 49ers. Get it done, baby. But the 49ers here have to win this game. I mean, the Packers certainly looked like they brought their offense back, but let's be honest, they were playing the Detroit Lions, okay? Now you're playing the San Francisco 49ers, who have not only come out playing well, but are a much better team all the way around. And the way Green Bay looked in week 1 certainly wasn't living up to the par. So I think San Francisco continues to get it done and takes advantage of the fact that Green Bay might not be playing at their best or at their most attentive right now, whatever it may be. I'll take the 49ers.
And then our Monday night game, the Philadelphia Eagles at 1-1 and the 1-1 Cowboys. You know, Jalen Hurts is their leading passer and leading rusher at this point. So I'm going to take the Cowboys by 10 in this game. I think Dak Prescott continues to have the great season he's having, and we need CeeDee Lamb to have a few more touchdowns. What do you got?
I lost you, Sterling. What did you say there?
So the Cowboys are going to beat the Eagles by 10. That's my prediction.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, Cowboys were my top pick of the week, right? My big bet of the week. So definitely got the Cowboys rolling over the Eagles on Monday Night Football.
Well, there you have it. This is the Hoof Podcast on the Cover One Network. Make sure that you tune in each and every week for the latest and the greatest for the matchup on Sunday. You know, Anthony gave us 5 for 5. And we have our picks. Make sure that you check us out on Tally site. We're the Hoof Live guys and all of our members from Cover One.
What is it that wins the Bills this game against Washington? One thing, if you had to say it. What is it?
What is it? I'm going to say pressure from the defense.
Ooh.
Pressure is going to get it done. Josh Allen's going to get back to being Josh Allen this game because I don't think the Washington football team has the guys in the secondary to handle it. So I think it's going to 38-13 is what I'm going
That's with. A huge prediction. And my score, I went back and forth. I said a couple of numbers, I think, but 28-16 was where I landed on that. So I do have the Bills winning pretty big, but not as big as Sterling, which is crazy to say right now.
Well, make sure you guys check out our Tally site. We will post our picks later in the week. But, man, make sure that you guys have a fantastic freaking week. And we are the Hoof Podcast, and we are out of here. Go Bills.
Go Bills, baby.